This question asks you to solve this inequality and then write your answer in interval notation. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually look for what's called critical numbers. Critical numbers. These critical numbers occur in two specific places. They occur when the whole thing equals 0, and they occur where we have issues with x, in other words, numbers that aren't in the domain. Okay, so the whole thing is going to equal 0 when the numerator equals 0. So the first type of critical number we have is when the numerator equals 0. And in that case, that would be x minus 7. Now, where we'd have issues with the domain is right here in the denominator. In the denominator, when that equals 0, we'll have undefined numbers. So therefore, those are critical numbers as well. So when the denominator equals 0, we'll also have undefined numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and set that equal to 0. And I'm going to go ahead and factor. And I get here the critical number of 7. And here negative 8 and positive 8. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to actually think of this on a number line. So we have negative 8 as a critical number, positive 8, and 7. And I apologize for my voice. It's a little bit bad today. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to figure out what values of x between these critical numbers are going to work in the inequality. So I divide this into 4 basic regions. So this is region 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to test numbers from these regions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug them back into the original equation. But I'm going to actually rewrite the original equation in factored form. So I'm going to actually plug it into x plus 8 minus 8 bigger than 0. So I'm going to test a number in this first region. And a number in the first region is any number less than negative 8. Most students pick the most immediate number, like negative 9. So I'm just going to plug negative 9 into this. Now, I'm not really interested in solving it. What I'm interested in is seeing if it's going to give me a true statement. So this ends up being a negative number over another negative number times another negative number, which is going to give me a positive, and a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then we want this to be bigger than 0, but clearly that isn't bigger than 0. A negative number is not bigger than 0, so this is false. So this region is not part of the solution. Okay, region 2. Number between negative 8 and 7, 0, my favorite number. So now I'm going to plug 0 into this. 0 plus 8, 0 minus 8. Okay, so that's going to give me a negative over a positive times a negative, which those two negatives are going to become positive. So I'm left with a positive, which is bigger than 0. So this one's true, which means that all the numbers in this region are part of the solution. Now, 3. Between 7 and 8. Well, 7.5 is probably the nicest number between 7 and 8. So that's what I'm going to plug in. And again, I'm not interested in the actual values. I just want to know whether it's a positive or negative. So this is a positive. This is a positive. That's a negative. So the whole thing is going to be negative, which is not bigger than 0, so it's false. And that region's out. Fourth region, bigger than 8, so 9. And in this case, everything comes out positive. So we have a positive, bigger than 0, which is true. So this is part of the solution. Now, coming back up here to these critical numbers. In the case where the numerator equals 0, that's not supposed to happen because this inequality is supposed to be strictly bigger than 0. So technically, this should be an open circle here at x equals 7. Now, in the denominator, when it equals 0, that's a problem. So whenever the denominator equals 0, these numbers are always open circle. Always. Now this could have been closed circle if the inequality was an equal to. So this could be closed or open circle. It depends on the inequality. This is always open circle. And that's because we'll never actually equal these numbers, because otherwise we'll get undefined numbers in the inequality. So in this case, everything is open circle. So if I want to write this in interval notation, I'm going to write parentheses. So this inequality, this interval is there. So that's from -8 to 7. And then this interval also going from 8 to infinity, and will include the union symbol.